Aviv. Let's speak to Yonah Bob, author and senior military correspondent for the Jerusalem Post. Thank you very much for joining us here on BBC News. What are you hearing from your sources about the potential sticking points in these talks?
Very mixed things. If you talk to some of the negotiators, who are people who really want there to be a deal, they've been trying for 10 months to get these hostages back to their families, they're very optimistic. If you talk to some of Netanyahu's people, they're very pessimistic. Now, there's a reason here, even though it's part of the same country and system, but Netanyahu is worried about losing his government. He has two very right-wing ministers who could bring his government down, and they have said that they will bring his government down if he ends the war without having destroyed Hamas. He hasn't destroyed Hamas yet. On the other hand, there's this huge contingent in Israel that want the hostages back, even if the war has to be paused. What does pause mean? Does it mean 2 months, 6 months? That's not the point. People want the hostages back. The negotiators want the hostages back. And so you see sometimes this zigzag that almost seems to make no sense within Israel of different messages coming out.
How critical is what happens to the Philadelphia corridor, this 8-mile strip of land between Egypt and the Gaza Strip?
The Philadelphia corridor is super critical. If Israel controls the Philadelphia corridor, Hamas cannot rearm, right? The Philadelphia corridor is the cross-border between Gaza and Egypt. That is the only way that Hamas can interact with the outside world. Israel can prevent arms coming in from, the air, from coming in from the sea. Israel has not been able to prevent arms coming in from there. We heard recently there's something like 180 tunnels that Hamas has had to be able to smuggle weapons. So if Israel controls that, Hamas cannot rearm. That is huge for Hamas's future. On the other hand, Hamas has made it clear that they won't give up the hostages if Israel holds on to the corridor. So there have been creative solutions that Israel could maintain technology on the corridor that it gets to man, and maybe some other international representatives, because Israel doesn't trust either Hamas or the Palestinian Authority. Would that it give Israel enough security? Would Netanyahu be able to keep the very right-wing ministers in his government from knocking the government down as he has that? That's anybody's guess.
A senior Hamas official has told the BBC that there is no progress being made. Of course, negotiators directly or indirectly are going to have to now deal with a new head of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar, rather than Ismail Haniyeh. What difference is that change in leadership going to make?
So I want to step back for a second and realize that at this stage, the hostages, it's sad to say, but they're not the main issue. The main issues are the potential Iran-Hezbollah regional war with Israel and whether there's going to be a future of Hamas in Gaza, right? Israel has beaten most of Hamas military in Gaza, but not completely. So if Israel stops the war and lets Hamas make a comeback, then from the Israeli perspective, maybe this is a failure. From the Hamas perspective, with all of their losses, maybe this is a victory. And that's what the negotiation is really about. Will a regional war be prevented? And who, between Israel and Hamas, can declare victory, or can both sides declare some kind of victory? If they can find a magic formula to do that, then both Yahya Sinwar of Hamas and Benjamin Netanyahu could sign on. But if either one of them think that the other one is declaring victory too much, then Sinwar will feel like he's lost too much, it's not worth him to make a deal, and Netanyahu, worried about losing his government, also wouldn't want to make a deal.
And the talks continue this week in Cairo. Yonah Bob from